Hey friends, welcome back to the Trans Joycast, where we talk about community, life, and joy. I'm Andrew, he, him pronouns.
And I'm Adam, he, him pronouns.
And today we're going to talk about good news in the universe. And that's going to cover things including the trans space as well as just broader news at large.
Sounds fun.
Sweet. All right, Adam, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, I've got a couple of things that I'm thinking about spinning here. One being, there's a lot of negative things in the trans news space. It's kind of hard to even search out positive things sometimes, as we discovered in trying to do this.
Yeah, I ran into that as well.
Yeah. But I do think there are some highlights even from the last couple weeks. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is the bathroom bans that are in place at the Capitol. There's people fighting against those. They're all directed towards Sarah McBride, who is the first openly trans woman to be elected to the House. They're basically just trying to make Sarah McBride use the men's room. Why? Who knows? So that, of course, is not positive news. But
I think this is going well.
But there was a sit-in last week, and I think that is positive news. And I think it's really notable who turned up for the sit-in, specifically Raquel Willis, who is from Georgia. She's from Augusta, Georgia, and she's an African-American writer and trans activist. She's an amazing writer. We should actually link to, she has a memoir that she published in 2023, The Risk It Takes to Bloom.
Ooh.
Yeah, she's won tons of awards, right? So this amazing woman is there fighting and speaking with our people for our people. Unfortunately, she and Chelsea Manning got arrested among a number of people.
We say unfortunately, but I wouldn't say surprisingly.
Not surprisingly, and in some ways, not unfortunately, right?
Right.
This, and even Raquel Willis, when I was reading some of the articles and interviews with her, she's talking about how she's modeling all these things after sit-ins because that's what it is, And some of that is peaceful protest, and that involves some arrests sometimes. But when it's these, when our best are up there to stand for us, it just gives me a little pride, a little hope for what we're capable of.
Absolutely. And for me, I totally agree with that. It's more than a little pride. It's
True.
I'm incredibly proud to see folks out there doing the hard work, because that stuff's not easy.
No.
Right? You're putting your face out there, you're putting your name out there, and you know that the likelihood of being arrested is not zero. So folks are doing hard work out there. And something you and I have talked a lot about is that you need all types of folks doing all types of work to move something forward.
Yes. And I think I'd also like to highlight Chelsea Manning being able and willing to stand and fight. I don't know if you all remember, Chelsea Manning was a whistleblower and activist for the DOJ, and she was actually imprisoned from 2010 to 2017 for she was an intelligence analyst for the U.S. Army, and she leaked things. And she was commuted under Obama, and she transitioned during that time. So her standing up and continuing to fight and talk about guts. Man.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's not unexpected, and there is a little bit of happy pride in watching both of them. I didn't see pictures of all. I think there were 15 people that were arrested, but pictures of those two people specifically, they're standing up tall. While they might be handcuffed, but they're standing up tall. And I just found I found that joyful.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. The other thing I was thinking about is, as you were talking, is Representative McBride is there to do the people's work. She was voted in, elected to do the work of her state. And as soon as she shows up, is dealing with...
Before she shows up.
Right, yeah, but you're right. Before she shows up, is being told where she can use the bathroom, where she can't use the bathroom, totally disrupting her entry into this new role. And in addition to that, distracting from the work of the folks that elected her in. So this isn't just impacting trans folks, it's impacting every single person in her district that elected her to do their work. And she, for her part, has come out and said, this is not why I was elected. This is not the battle I'm here to fight. And I, for one, totally respect that.
Yeah.
Because already folks have so many, specifically folks that are parts of minority communities, have so much work on top of the regular work that they're doing anyway. And I get there has been some critique of that stance of hers from the community. I understand why that is. There's so much hope and expectation placed on her. I would argue unfairly.
She still has to do her job.
Exactly. And not only she still has to, she must, that is her job.
And she must do it stellarly.
Yes, exactly. There's no room for error when somebody like her, and again, by that I mean somebody that is a member of a minority community, a marginalized community, who has tremendous scrutiny on them, getting in there and doing not just as good a job, but better, air quotes, better work than anybody else in there, because the expectations are so different for her. And so to see our community step in and really rally around that issue so that she can continue to do the things that she needs to be doing, that, I mean, I get goosebumps talking about that, because
that's our community.
Exactly. You pick each other up, you step in when you've got the energy to do it, and somebody might not, the energy or the space or fill in the blank. I don't know, that I love that you shared that. That's a beautiful story. It really is. I mean, it comes from a negative thing, and so many good stories do.
Yeah. And I think all of these things start to humanize us in looking for news story. That's the most glaring part of it. It's like fictitious beings that these pundits are talking about, but realistically, it's us. We are people. All right. So the other thing that I want to talk about is the military ban on adolescent care. And again, that sounds like a negative thing, and it is a negative thing. But in reading through all these news articles, it just popped out to me as something that we can really highlight the joy in and humanize us just a little bit more. So if you'll stick with me, I promise.
I'm here for the ride.
I know. And I especially want to hear from you as a military family. So kind of similarly, how we were talking about our community standing up for Sarah McBride when Sarah McBride has something else to do, right?
Right.
I think my second story kind of ties into that too. I want to talk about the military ban on adolescent care, which is not positive by any means. But I think in reading through all of the news that I did, we can really pull some joy out of it in the way that some of these military families and parents stood up and made some really great points against the ban and in consideration for their families and whether or not they're willing to even stay in the armed forces. And I think that's the kind of stuff that maybe our community and especially our allies need to hear, right? That this is not, well, how we started out. We're not fictitious beings that you're just making laws about. These are families and kids, adults, people.
Across the entire spectrum of humanity. Folks in the military even dealing with this with their families. And that's not necessarily a segment that a lot of folks are going to think about.
Exactly. And that's the point. We are everywhere. And we deserve these rights. So anyway, I got a couple of different parents that I just want to highlight, and neither one of them use their names, which makes complete sense. But one father, he's been in the armed forces, been in the Air Force for 20 years. And he says that he cannot see the connection between military readiness and taking away this essential health care. In fact, it's just the opposite. Taking away something that families are relying on distracts from the mission and the task at hand in order for us to remain as lethal as we are. Which, I mean, that's a military man speaking, right? And he's also saying, my family, my kid deserve protection too. And you're making me choose, which I found like goosebumps.
Yeah.
Goosebumps.
Uh,
You got to feel some goosebumps from that.
yeah. So I grew up in the military environment. I can't remember if I've mentioned that on a previous podcast or not. You know, when growing up in that space, it's so different. And I only realize this the older that I get and the more that you sort of relate to your peers and talk about your upbringing. I realize how different my upbringing was from the average American kid. And I didn't learn the word gay until I was in my teens. And it wasn't because my parents sheltered me. It was just because that wasn't something that came up in that space, first of all. And as a consequence of policies and laws like Don't Ask, Don't Tell was not allowed to really be brought up lest somebody get investigated and maybe thrown out of the military. So all to say, that kind of stuff just wasn't even talked about, at least not in any circles that I was in. And so knowing that there's folks who are willing and able to speak up and stand up for their kids in a space that's traditionally seen as pretty conservative and very, very job oriented. There wasn't anything I ever did as a kid that didn't have this underlying knowledge and feeling that everything reflected on my dad and his role and his job. Not anything that he necessarily did or said. It's just the culture there. And so knowing that there's folks out there that are going to speak up in that environment, especially knowing that there's, you know, the rights of folks aren't, of LGBT folks aren't codified in that space and are very likely to get rolled back in the next administration. Knowing that there's folks there that are serious people that are standing up for themselves and for their kids and for their families, man, that's incredible, because I would argue that's, at least based on my experience, probably one of the hardest spaces in this country to do it.
Yeah. I got some more goosebumps for you then. You ready?
Let's do this. I'm all in.
All right, let's do it. One woman, 8 years in service, and then went into public sector, and her husband is actually an officer at the Pentagon, so like high level DOJ stuff. And their son receives care, their trans son receives care through TRICARE, and she says that he is thriving as a result. And she talks mostly about how this doesn't impede, it does impede healthcare, but ultimately this also casts out a huge amount of talent from the military, because we're not talking about casting out children. You're talking about casting out families, because they come as a unit, right? So these are very talented, high-ranking, long-term military people that are considering leaving.
It's such a good point to bring up the fact that it impacts the kids. Ultimately, parents are having to make decisions to protect and take care of their family. And that's that's such a good point. I don't know that gets talked about enough. I'm glad you're bringing it up.
Most of this stuff doesn't get talked about enough, and one that I specifically want to hear how it makes you feel is veterans. So this trans kid, his parents are both veterans, and his mom was talking about the ban on service, and it just almost brought me to tears. It's all they've ever wanted, to be like their dad, to carry on a family tradition of service to the country. I don't think I can truly even express how devastating it would be for them to not be able to fulfill their dreams.
Yeah, that's relatable.
Yeah, I know it is.
Yeah, so my background, when I was in college, I was in ROTC. I planned on joining either the Navy or the Marines. It's all one program under the Navy. And I hadn't quite decided which path I wanted to take, but I was in the ROTC program and was excited about pursuing a career that my dad had pursued. That guy's my hero, and I knew the sacrifices that he gave for our country, and I grew up in a space where that was just the noble thing to do, and I wanted to be in those ranks. When I started kind of figuring out that I was queer, Don't Ask, Don't Tell was fairly fresh, definitely being enforced. And I was realizing that that wasn't going to be a viable option for me, that it was at best going to be an uncomfortable existence with not being able to really be myself. And at worst, it could be a dangerous existence. So the entire trajectory of my future was dictated by rules that I think ultimately harm the country. I would have been a great officer. I really think that.
You would have. And that's what we're trying to do, or that's what we're doing to children now by telling them they can't play sports and they can't go to the bathroom and they can't. We're altering their trajectory and their ability to become themselves.
That's right.
But if the Senate does pass this version to repeal the TRICARE, Care for Adolescents, and it's identical to the House, then it goes to the president's desk, who would ultimately be Biden. It'll go that fast. If Biden signs it, it'll be the first federal statute restricting the LGBTQ plus community since the 90s and since Don't Ask, Don't Tell.
Do we think Biden would sign that?
I gotta hope not.
Yeah.
I gotta hope not. But a lot of the news that I was reading from trans activists is a lot about how we can't necessarily rely on the Democratic Party, that the progressive to the left doesn't necessarily include, how are we calling it, this disfavored minority.
Yeah, that is a very great point, especially after the election and all the stuff that we were hearing about that from the Democratic Party.
But I think humanizing us, humanizing our families, and allowing the world to start to consider the fact that affecting me doesn't just affect me, it affects my circles and my ability to support myself and my family.
Yeah. Very well said. All right. So a couple of good news things I came across. The end is nigh for the, quote, world's deadliest pandemic. This is about HIV AIDS pandemic. So I'm going to go ahead and just read what this says.
Yeah.
There's a clear pathway to ending AIDS transmission by 2030, the Joint United Nations Program on HIV/AIDS announced in July. It said that improved access to HIV treatment has averted almost 21 million AIDS-related deaths in the past 30 years. That's incredible. With 2022 marking the lowest number of new HIV infections in decades.
It's amazing.
Isn't it? The response has brought add-on benefits, it added, including stronger health and community systems, which helped shield millions from poverty and food insecurity.
That's really cool. I mean, we know of all the work that's being done just in Atlanta to make sure everyone has access to AIDS care and PrEP, and they've done an amazing job across the country and apparently across the world. So that's amazing.
Yeah, gosh, the difference between now and 30 years ago is unbelievable. Unbelievable. That's great news for all of us and our communities. Another exciting advancement in the medical community is that Alzheimer's treatments are getting better and better and closer. So a reason for optimism, they're saying, after 2 drugs were found to slow the disease. They work by clearing the amyloid protein that builds up in the brains of people with Alzheimer's. And trials suggest that they can slow cognitive decline, but not halt the disease. These drugs are set in the UK for approval in 2024, which is now. Here's another neat piece of trans news, Adam. Alex Pinsani, and I'm certain that I'm mispronouncing that. I apologize.
We do our best.
We do our best. She became the first transgender model of the year at the UK Fashion Awards.
Isn't that cool?
It's really cool. I've got a quote from her. She says, "I'm the first trans woman to win this award, but I can't accept this award without thanking those who came before me, specifically the Black trans women who really fought for the space I'm in today. Dominique Jackson, Connie Fleming, Erin Rose Phillip were among those who, she said, fought for the space that allowed me to flourish." She also said, "Change is more than possible. It is needed." So she joined a long list of some of the modeling world's biggest names to earn the annual award, including Kate Moss, Bella Hadid, and Cara Delevingne. obviously am not particularly plugged in to the fashion world, as you can see by what I'm wearing. So I am sorry that I'm mispronouncing those names. She's thought to be the youngest openly trans model to sign with a major modeling agency as well. And in October, she became one of the first openly trans models to walk in the iconic Victoria's Secret fashion show.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah, along with Brazilian model Valentina Sampaio.
We apologize to all those models' names, but we are very excited for you at the same time.
We are so excited. We're so excited. That's a huge deal. You know, I mean, women's bodies and trans bodies are always under such scrutiny, and to be included in spaces that are specifically about the celebration of bodies is really pretty exciting.
Yeah, I think so.
Heck yeah. So Pink News reported back in September that Lady Gaga never denied transgender rumors in her early career so trans kids wouldn't feel shamed. I love this. Lady Gaga, who I've loved for so many reasons, just add this to the list. She was constantly being, quote, accused of having a, quote, male appendage, etc., etc., and, you know, just nasty versions of transphobia. And she would choose not to address it because it was not important. And more to the point, it was important to take care of the folks that are listening to her music and watching her and looking up to her. She said to, I think it was Anderson Cooper in a 60 Minutes interview, when asked about that rumor going around, and she said, well, maybe I do. Why would it be so terrible? Why the hell am I going to waste my time and give a press release about whether or not I have a penis? My fans don't care, and neither do I. Hell yeah, girl. Let's get it. Oh, I'll always be one of her little monsters.
Mm-hmm. I think that sums it up pretty well. You're asking about things about people that you have no right to even question and really don't matter in how you interact with them on a daily basis.
Right. She said, the reason why I didn't answer the question is because I didn't feel like a victim with that lie. And I thought, what about a kid who is being accused of that, who would think that a public figure like me would feel shame? She added, I've been in situations where fixing a rumor was not in the best interest of the well-being of other people. In that case, I tried to be thought-provoking and disruptive in another way. I tried to use the misinformation to create another disruptive point. And, you know, she's long been a supporter of the LGBTQ community and
especially the trans community.
That's exactly right. So hats off to Lady Gaga. We love you now and forever. Thank you for being an incredible ally and essentially saying, who the heck's business is it anyway? And why do you give a crap? Love it so much. Something kind of cool, Adam, is Pink News. If you download their app, they have a feature on here that allows you to filter for uplifting stories only, which I think is incredibly important for mental health reasons. And
yeah, they already have great stuff anyway. So
they really do. Pink News, if you ever wanted to, if you ever wanted to say hi to us, we would love that. No, their stuff is really well covered, and to be able to filter, you know, if you're having a day where you're like, gosh, I just need some good stuff, their stuff is good. For example, this is fun, and well, I don't know, it's good for my mental health to know that Dua Lipa, who I love,
right,
sang a Broadway-style duet with Elton John at the Royal Albert Hall. And what song did she sing? Okay, so they sang Rocket Man.
Mm-hmm.
Would that have been amazing to see? I love Dua Lipa. And then their actual release duet, Cold Heart. Have you heard that song?
Actually, yes, I have.
It's so good. It's Elton John. His voice just doesn't age. It's incredible. It's incredible. Yeah. So download their app, and if you click in the upper right-hand corner, there's a little filter option, and the option is literally just to flip one switch. There's only one switch on there, and it is the uplifting stories only switch. And it says, for when you need happy vibes. I love that.
Love that too.
All right, so Adam, I have a fun little article that Pink News put out that I think we should discuss. And it is 8 of the campiest Christmas albums ever made. From festive fun to sad girl bangers.
All right, let's do it.
Let's do it. All right. And the question will be, have I heard any of these? And have you heard any of them? Now, this one, I'm sure, is an obvious pick. It's Mariah Carey's Merry Christmas from 1994. I candidly am not sure that I know any other song from that album. Which probably makes me a bad queer because it's Mariah Carey, but also, can you blame me? This one person, or the article notes, Mariah is one of the few pop girls who can get away with singing about Jesus and still keep the gays entertained.
True.
Mariah out there doing God's work. We appreciate it. Thank you very much. All right. Destiny's Child. Oh, so good. Destiny's Child, 8 Days of Christmas. That was released in 2001. Have you heard it?
I don't think so. But the Christmas music, man, probably. I'm not exactly a connoisseur.
This is going to be our least detailed segment we've ever done. I love Christmas music, and if I were to hear a song from Destiny's Child, I would know it was them, but
Right.
Would I be able to pull a song out of my memory banks from their Christmas album? I don't know that I would. And again, I should probably be embarrassed about that.
I've got a Holly Jolly Christmas or Holly Dolly Christmas or whatever the one that she put out was.
Oh, let's see if that's on the list. We'll find out. Listen, you can't go wrong with Dolly Parton. If you are of any background, Dolly Parton speaks to all of you. She's just so great. She does a lot of great stuff in the community. Have we talked about her before on the podcast?
Yeah, not.
That's unlike us. We talk about her a lot. So the next album on here is Kylie Minogue. It's called Kylie Christmas from 2015. She has tackled pretty much every musical genre that has ever existed. And let's see, she does some classics like Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas. And It's the Most Wonderful Time of the Year. It's camp and overblown and so much fun, according to this article. Are you familiar with Kylie Minogue?
I am familiar with Kylie Minogue. I don't have that album, but you're kind of making me want to have that album. So
Kylie Minogue is, I love her as an artist, and I haven't thought about her in a while. I'm going to check this album out because she is, I think she's one of the epitomes of camp in general.
Yes.
Her stuff is so fun.
Definitely.
Yeah, she's just such a fun performer. All right, next one is Kelly Clarkson, Wrapped in Red from 2013. And I guess she has a talk show. I haven't watched it,
Me either.
but she has always come across, at least in interviews that I've seen, as just kind of a loving,
Down to
joy-
earth.
yeah, down to earth person. I agree with that. On this one, she's got 5 original tracks, something that I think we have not enough of in this. Well, okay, let me roll that back. Because there are some bad original Christmas songs out there. But I do love a good new Christmas song. I'm curious to see if the Sia album is on here because that one's very good. Anyway, I might be jumping the shark. Anyway, so Kelly Clarkson, Wrapped in Red. She's got some of her own original pieces on there, and I'm going to need to check that out. Next is Casey Musgraves, A Very Casey Christmas.
I do have that one.
You do have this one?
Yeah. Her Hippopotamus for Christmas one is just
Oh, classic. So how would you rate this album in your Christmas album ranks?
it ranks high for me. My favorite Christmas album, my favorite Christmas song, much to my wife's dismay, is Birthday Cake from Jesus. Which is the Shiny Ribs. Basically, they just have to get a birthday cake for Jesus.
Where did they get it from? There wasn't a Publix there.
You don't have to be that literal.
Ouch. Okay.
No, it's just about how they had to throw a birthday party for Jesus. So Mary and Joseph have to get a birthday cake. And I don't know. It's a very silly song.
I love it. I'm going to need you to send me the link to this. That sounds amazing. So Casey Musgrave also has some original tracks on here. Some of her best moments include A Willie Nice Christmas.
That's a good one, too.
She duets with Willie Nelson. Oh,
No, it's about Willie.
it says
Or
she
is he-
duets with him.
Is he in that one?
Says so.
Yeah, well,
How well do you know this album, Adam?
like I said, I am not a connoisseur.
I'm going to have to check that out. I really like some classic Willie Nelson. Next on the list, Adam,
Is it?
it's Dolly Parton with A Holly Dolly Christmas. Okay, there's definitely a trend of putting your own name in a Christmas album.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Yeah. So this was from 2020, one of the lost years.
One of the lost years.
And let's see, it is, oh my gosh, somehow Dolly's 47th studio album. Holy cow. And of course, in Dolly fashion, she's got some original tracks on there as well.
Mhm.
And of course, some classics. 47 albums.
I wonder
That's
how many
incredible.
Willie Nelson has. It seems like,
Is he older than her?
I believe so.
He looks it. I don't know what their ages are.
I think maybe you should cut that.
Just kidding. Willie, if you'd like to be a sponsor on our show.
Hey, I bet you're a concert poster right here.
That's right. You're looking fabulous, Willie. Or should I call you Mr. Nelson? I'm sorry.
I think we're at the Mr. Nelson.
All right. Next album on the list is Leona Lewis, Christmas with Love. She did not put her name in the album, which seems like a missed opportunity. If I'm to base my assumptions on the other album names. She has what Pink News is called the endlessly entertaining One More Sleep. I haven't heard this song. So, I don't think, so I'm going to look it up. Gosh, like I said, this is going to be, we did not oversell this segment. We said this is going to be the least detailed offering.
We're all learning together.
We're learning together. That's right. Thank you for joining us on this journey. Oh, Alicia Keys in 2022 with Santa Baby.
Yeah.
I am certain that I've heard that.
Anything
Alicia
she
Keys.
does.
Such a talent.
I want to see her in person. Wouldn't that be great?
Oh, it would. Yeah. I've not seen her live. I'm sure she'd be fantastic.
Mhm.
Unsurprisingly, her first song on that album is called, what do you think it is?
Merry Christmas.
The album's called Santa Baby.
Oh, sorry. Santa Baby. I missed
Ding,
that
ding,
part.
ding. You got stopped at Alicia Keys. Oh man,
Yeah.
I want to see her perform.
Yeah, my brain
Yeah.
just went.
Pink News says, if you're somebody who disintegrates into a puddle of tears every time Alicia Keys sings, listen, don't at me, then brace yourself. Santa Baby is going to be a wild ride. All right. That was the end of that list. Adam, according to you, what album is missing?
My mother-in-law loves the Tabernacle Choir. What's that?
Ooh, yeah, the Mormon Tabernacle
Yeah.
Choir.
Yeah, that's on repeat over at her house. That says Christmas, but that's not exactly campy or joyful. It is joyful, but not
It's joyful.
like party.
It's pretty serious. It's not, I wouldn't call
Pretty
it campy, for sure.
Definitely not campy.
No. No, I think they would take umbrage with being called campy.
Right?
Yeah. I would probably say, I don't know if you have heard any of the Harry Connick Jr. Christmas albums.
Oh, good point. Yeah.
So I think an album that this article is missing is When My Heart Finds Christmas. It definitely can fall into that campy space. It's Harry Connick Jr., so it's jazz, if you're familiar with him. He's a jazz dude, plays piano incredibly well.
Does everything.
He really... Does he play other instruments?
I think so.
He might.
I feel like I've maybe I've just seen him around other people playing horns so much that I assume he
I mean,
knows.
that is also possible, and in fact likely. I'm not sure if he plays other instruments or not. Anyway, he's got. There's a song on there called "Parade of the Wooden Soldiers" that I just love so much. It's such a kind of jovial, kind of plinky plunky song. I don't know how to describe it, but it's super fun. Listeners, we're going to put some links in our show notes for any of the albums that we're talking about here for y'all to check out on Spotify.
I think the only one that's missing for me is Lucinda Williams, just because I love anything that she does. But during the pandemic, she put out some jukebox recordings, and one was all Christmas music. It's a Rockin' Little Christmas or something like that.
Oh, that's great.
If you don't know Lucinda Williams, I highly recommend checking her out. A poet in her own right.
Yeah, for sure. Wow. I don't know if I've heard that. I'll be looking for it. You know what I'm going to do is I'm going to click one of the links that we provide.
Look at that.
If we were to move a little away from the campy, I think a couple other favorite Christmas albums for me include A Charlie Brown Christmas. That's just such a classic with the Vince Guaraldi. Oh, good grief. The Vince Guaraldi trio. Vince Guaraldi.
I love how natural it was. And your shirt.
Just so perfect. Yeah, I am a big fan of that album. It's just such an understated, like there's no like jingle bells, ching 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 in it. It's just such a well composed album.
It says Christmas.
Really does.
Yeah.
And if I'm looking for something a little more in line with kind of classics, but it's maybe a little more modern, the Michael Bublé Christmas, I think it's just called Christmas album, is a really good one as well. All right, so I enjoyed looking up some of these more positive news stories. I think we're going to try to do that periodically and share what we're seeing in the world with everybody, because it's important that we celebrate the good stuff that's going on too.
Yeah, and pull out the good nuggets that are kind of hidden in everything.
Adam, what kind of announcements do we have this episode?
Well, we always have the Etsy store, and we have some beautiful Christmas ornaments that we have made. I highly recommend you take a look at those. I have an anniversary coming up on the 21st. It's my sobriety anniversary. We don't need to talk about how many years. Just say that I had to be sober to figure out I was trans.
You did it.
I did it.
Congrats on your anniversary, Adam. That's amazing.
Thank you.
Do you have a tradition in the way that you like to celebrate every year?
When I had my lab, Jesse, my tradition was always to go for a hike or a camp, to be away and to just be by myself. But I have learned and grown. We have so much to celebrate.
Yeah. We're all worthy of celebration, and the big things and the little things. And this is a big one. So we definitely get to celebrate this.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. Oh, I'm excited for that. Thanks for sharing that with us. Right, so we try to end every episode with a conversation about what our current joys are. So Adam, what is yours right now?
My joy is we have an Etsy shop. So we are constantly packing and putting things in boxes, and I go to the post office quite a bit. But this morning I went to the post office to drop off some things, and there was a grandma and a little boy that were in front of me, and he was putting the envelopes in the thing and very excitedly pushing the arm up and down. So I gave him my envelope to go in, and then I said, "Do you want to put the big box in?" And his eyes got so big, and he had to stand on his little feet to put it in the thing and then push to make it go. Yeah. And then on the way out, he was told me all about how they were going to get donuts, and how his favorite donuts are pink with sprinkles. And I was like, great.
I love that.
It was a nice little joy this morning.
That's adorable. There's nothing like a kid reminding you how to appreciate the little things that you can find just such like fun in, the silly little things. And we forget that as adults if we're not careful.
Yeah. I mean, the package drop thing is kind of fun. A lie.
It's the thing that you just keep coming back for more, don't you?
Yeah. You think it's because trans joy, but no, I just like to go to the post office and
Pull the lever.
yeah. How about you?
My joy has been I just started learning the trombone. I play a lot of different instruments. We might have talked about that at
is
some point
an
here.
understatement. He can play anything
Well, not the trombone
yet.
yet. A friend of ours from the band also plays and is a neighbor of mine down the road, and came over and was showing me how to do some of the care and feeding of the instrument, because it's the trombone's unlike any instrument that I've played before in terms of how it's physically built. And so started learning how to play that and reading bass clef, and I could get real nerdy here for all of you musicians, but those of you that don't care don't need me to go down that path. So all to say, it's so far been a lot of fun. And yeah, I have this gift/curse of being able to hyperfixate on things. And so especially when I'm learning a new skill, it is such a good way to get my brain engaged on something totally different than whatever's going on in the rest of the real world. And so, yeah, if you're looking for a way to kind of connect with yourself and disconnect from other things, learning how to do something new with your hands is a really great way to engage your brain in a different way that can kind of like throw it off of the record that's spinning around and around and around.
I bet you don't often do bass clef.
I've never done bass clef.
Never.
Okay. No,
You never played the piano?
I did, but I played it by ear, and nobody caught that was what was happening.
I see.
It was the music I was like 6 or something, and the music was very easy in terms of if you can do anything by ear.
Motorboat.
Yes. Yeah. Wait, what?
You didn't have you had all those finger exercises you had to do. It was just basically like one at a time, moving your fingers. I played the piano from like 5 to 18. So
that's the thing. So like anything that I can't play, Adam can play.
Yeah, we do well that way. I do string things and you do wind things.
Yeah. I can play guitar, like chords, and I could be your rhythm guitar player, but that is about the extent of my string capabilities. Rhythm guitar would be fine. Yep. Do you play the flute? I don't play the flute.
No, Angela does, or used to. I don't think that she would like me saying that she still does. I think that was like a 1 semester in middle school.
Got it. Understood. Well, right now we only have X number of subscribers, so not many people are going to know.
Yeah.
Well, then there will be no flute on our duet album.
Yeah, really weird duet albums.
Yeah. Bass and saxophone, or bass and vibra slap.
You do that. You're a good vibra slapper.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, you get the sass in it.
Yeah, there's an instrument that's called a vibra slap. It's how would I describe this? It's got a wooden ball on one end and a piece of metal that connects to a wooden box that has some metal rattly pieces in it, and you hit the ball and it goes when you hit it. And if you're listening, you can't see this, but I'll show those who are watching. I like to do like it's like a whole rainbow effect with I use my whole body to play it, which it's because the vibra slap moves me like that. It's an instrument I really connect with. It's essentially like just a different, think of a tambourine, but different. It's better. Kind of that.
It's better
way
than
better.
Tambourine.
Yeah, it's way better than a tambourine. Anyway, enough about my lack of musical career.
Hardly.
Yeah. The music stuff is always such a joy for me. And so, yeah, trombone, that'll be a fun one to figure out how to play. And as Adam and I say about everything, how hard could it be?
That's how we got here.
That's how we got here. Turns out, ladies and gentlemen, it's hard. So, folks, I think that's going to wrap us up for today. Adam, thanks for another fun conversation today on TransJoycast. Listeners, the best way you can help us spread trans joy through this podcast is subscribe, like, share, and review. And please take a moment to write a comment on any posts that you see pop up so that the algorithm gods can spread the word of trans joy.
We need your help.
That's right. Remember to follow us at TransJoyUSA on Facebook and Instagram. And for merch, head over to our Etsy shop. There are links in our podcast info and on our social media pages. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day or night, depending on when you are listening to us. And we can't wait to chat with you next time.
Until next time.
I can't pronounce so many things there. Consani? Consani?
I mean, I can't. Sorry. my people renamed Anonymous. I was lucky, I guess.
Ooh. Too soon? That was very funny.